was President Trump on Friday in Pensacola. And right now we're going to bring in Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor, former Utah GOP congressman, and former chairman of the Oversight and Government Committee in the House. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. So that's the president this week litigating publicly and straight to the American people his feeling about a rigged system. This week on Capitol Hill, Deputy AG Rosenstein is going to testify about the Russia investigation before that House Judiciary Committee. But given what we've learned about Mueller's team ties, is there a fair investigation actually going on, and what could we learn from this testimony?
Well, he is the one in charge. I used to actually be on that committee, and I think you're going to see from Jim Jordan and Trey Gowdy and John Radcliffe and a host of other people some very direct questions, not only about what Mueller and his team are doing, but maybe what they're not doing. Are they looking at the Uranium One deal? Are they going to potentially introduce a special counsel? Because he's the one that appointed Mueller. Is he going to appoint somebody else to also maybe go in to look at the other things that Hillary Clinton was doing? And I'm telling you, if the answer isn't an affirmative one, I think you're going to see a lot of members in the House really get upset and really question whether or not this Department of Justice has a blindfold on it, much the way it's supposed to. That Lady Justice, does she have a blindfold on?
So Congressman, here's the real question, and that is, will Rosenstein actually answer the questions? The scrutiny on the impartiality is undeniable on this team. You have sat in those hearings time and time again when the witness simply gives you a word salad, double Washington speak, and gets out of it. Is Rosenstein going to add to the erosion of confidence in the American people in their institutions, or is he going to just babble?
Well, if Bob Goodlatte is the chairman of the committee, he can continue to direct the witness in order to answer the questions. This is the committee of prime jurisdiction. They all have security clearances. There's no reason why you can't do that. Nobody wants to impede an ongoing investigation, but at the same time, there are a lot of direct questions that can be asked, and I'm sure, again, that those members will ask those questions. And the other thing that they're also going to press them on is turning over the documents to the House Intelligence Committee. In a public forum like this, are they going to cooperate and provide witnesses? Are they going to provide the documents? Because right now the deep state over in the Department of Justice is giving Congress a big old stiff arm, and you have Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy and others saying, I can't do this investigation and oversee the Department of Justice as the check and balance unless you actually provide the documents. Thus far, they haven't been doing it.
Congressman, let me ask you this on a different kind of issue. It seems that for some people, what they want for Christmas is this government shutdown. Certain rank-and-file Democrats, of course, are really kind of forcing a movement to shut down the government going into the holiday season, really over this issue of DACA, of course, and the Dreamers. President Trump saying, of course, America does not need a government shutdown. But you, Congressman, have been a part of the Republican Party when they were responsible for a government shutdown, or certainly perceived that way. So you know the political cost of being associated with that shutdown type of thing. What do you think the costs are for the Dems here?
I totally disagree. Totally. We'll have another conversation that we participated in any sort of government shutdown, but that's another topic. Right. Look, I was elected the same time as Barack Obama.
That perception was out there from
It doesn't mean it was true.
Absolutely. No, I'm conceding that. I'm conceding that. But I'm saying the political price tag that many in the GOP felt that cost was substantial.
Yeah, and I don't believe in my district. I won by record numbers. So, but nevertheless, look, the Democrats, again, I was on the House Judiciary Committee. I was on the Immigration Subcommittee. When the Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they didn't even hold a hearing on this. And literally in 2 years, they dealt nothing with immigration. The only person they brought before the committee was Stephen Colbert. Honest to goodness, that is the way it went down. And so for them now to say, oh, this is the most important, and it says a lot about the Democrats. They're willing to shut down the government because they're going to protect people that aren't even Americans.
Well, that's the question.
But do you think that they really are?
Question.
I don't think that they are.
Listen, they certainly are. So does it not portray priorities?
Oh, they absolutely are not. They will absolutely not shut down the government for that.
No, our priority is illegals who were brought here of their accord. We understand that. But our priorities, do we shut it down or not over illegals vis-a-vis, doesn't it support the bifurcation of the narrative the president has that you've got the forgotten men and women, the citizens of America, versus Democrats who are advocating for illegals?
And I understand that, Pete, but I'm saying to the congressman, I really was talking about the shutdown issue exclusively, right? And the truth is, and I think everybody knows it on this panel, and you, Congressman, that the Dems are certainly not going to shut down the government over this issue because the political consequences are too high.
I got to believe that. Look, the president has said that he's going to deal with this in a compassionate way. He is waiting for Congress to take some definitive action. There are some on the Republican side of the party that also want to inject this into the funding bill that has to happen by the 22nd. I see no pathway for them to actually deal with this immigration DACA issue in the funding bill going on to the 22nd. But I think in the first quarter, the president really does want to see a congressional solution to this. I do think that Congress has to do two things with the funding bill. One, deal with the sanctuary cities. They lost a lawsuit, and if the president and his team insist, I think they can get language in there to fix that. And the second thing that they have to do is fund the wall. It's core to what the president campaigned on. It's a modest amount of money in a $4 trillion budget. The president and the Republicans should build the wall. When they do that, they can also later deal with these other issues.
Congressman Chaffetz, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
All right, President Trump is busy working on his agenda, including tax reform and immigration. But the New York Times doesn't want to talk about that. They'd rather focus on what he watches on TV.
And conservative students...
Welcome back. More Clinton connections emerging in the Russia meddling investigation. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Robert Mueller investigator Andrew Weissmann attended Hillary Clinton's election party last November. This amid growing complaints from Republicans of bias in the investigation. Joining me right now is Judge Michael Mukasey. He served as the U.S. Attorney General under the George W. Bush administration. He is also a former federal judge. Judge, it's good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So what do you make of all of this? I mean, first of all, you've got these investigators who investigated Hillary Clinton. They went to her party. They were partying up a storm together, and then he's actually interviewing her for the FBI. You've got Michael Flynn pleading guilty to lying, and yet Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills lied to the FBI. No problem there. Is this investigation a sham?
I don't think the investigation is a sham, and obviously everybody's got an opinion, a political opinion, some of them. It's perfectly fine to have political opinions, but when you start expressing them in public, if you're a public official, that gets dicey. And most people, I think, in public jobs know that. Everybody in a public job has an opinion, but not everybody in a public job goes around expressing it, and goes around expressing it in the form of attendance at rallies or making contributions.
But it is pretty extraordinary, though, to see Mueller's team. I mean, he had to fire one of his agents. Actually, he wasn't fired. He now works in the HR division of the FBI. But he took him off of the investigation because he was found out to be sending anti-Trump texts to his girlfriend. So what do you do about a politicization of the FBI?
Well, you expose it and stop it. I think that the problem with the lawyer who attended the rallies, Andrew Weissmann, is a lot deeper than just attending a party. He participated in the Enron investigation, and every single criminal trial in that case that ended in a conviction was reversed either entirely or in part on appeal, and in large measure, particularly with the Arthur Anderson conviction that resulted in destruction of an accounting firm, reversed by the Supreme Court because he had pushed the obstruction statute too far. He was responsible for that. And he is, guess what, investigating a case that is alleged to involve obstruction. I don't know that I'd rely on his judgment in how far you go with the obstruction case.
That's interesting. You know, people don't understand the Enron background there, that everything was turned around.
Not everything, but many things, and there was no conviction after a trial that stood completely.
So what should be done here in terms of the Robert Mueller investigation? I mean, every day we hear more interviews being done. Hope Hicks, the PR woman at the White House, people that, you know, and the media is getting it wrong. You saw the hysteria a week ago that the president directed Michael Flynn. Then we learned that it was actually in December, a month before he's about to take office. Is there anything that should be done right now in terms of this Robert Mueller investigation? investigation where they're continuing to look for collusion that we all know does not exist?
I think that the best thing to do is wait for the outcome and not engage in fevered speculation about what the outcome might be.
But, Judge, when is the outcome? I mean, this has been going on a long time. How much is this costing American taxpayers? Tens of millions of dollars?
It's costing them quite a lot, but it's also costing them a lot in terms of diverted energy and attention. And I think that's, in a way, a higher price to pay in terms of our politics.
So what's your whole assessment of this, then?
Well, I think we have to wait to see where, if anywhere, it goes. But I'm hoping that in the end, Mr. Mueller lives up to a lot of the advance notice about his reputation and has the courage to say if there's nothing there, that there's nothing there.
Christopher Wray testified last week, the new FBI director, and was asked about politicizing happening at the FBI. Here's what he had to say. Listen to this.
As I sit here today, I am not aware of, since I've been on the job, there's been no effort that I've seen going forward here, any effort to interfere with Special Counsel Mueller's investigation.
Truthful? Should we trust this?
Yeah, he says no effort to interfere with Mueller's investigation. That's pretty innocuous.
Right. The bigger story is, right, are they looking at the right things? Are they investigating the Clinton team? I mean, we just talked about the fact that Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin lied to the FBI, and Cheryl Mills got immunity. That response didn't speak to that at all. That response simply spoke to what's going on now in an effort or absence of effort to interfere with the investigation. Answer nothing. But what about the Clinton? What about the Clinton investigation? Is there one? Or are we just going to keep turning over rocks looking for collusion with Donald Trump?
I think it'll be interesting to find out what Chairman Nunes discloses in the investigation that his committee is carrying on, which is going on fairly quietly but steadily. And I think we're going to find out quite a bit.
There is an effort, though, to keep that aside, keep that under wraps, keep this whole Clinton part of the investigation under wraps, frankly. And so the American people don't really understand what's happening with that. You're saying that that investigation will yield important results.
If the investigation is ongoing, it belongs under wraps.
Right. Okay. But in the meantime, all we hear about is Trump and potential collusion with Russia. I understand it's all speculation. It's all speculation, and if you look at it, it's all hot air. Yeah.
So, you know, you can't censor people in the media from talking about and speculating about what they want to talk about and speculate about.
When would you expect news from the Nunes investigation?
I don't know, but I do expect at some point that there will be news.
Attorney General, it's great to see you.
Good to see
Thank you so much. AG Michael Mukasey there. Protests turning deadly near the Israeli-Palestinian border. Meanwhile, after President Trump recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, we'll get into it next. Stay with us.